The Galactic Federation ship Harmony Seeker glided into Earth orbit, its pearlescent hull reflecting the blue-green planet below. Commander Alara Sheathal stood on the bridge, her 4 eyes blinking in sequence as she watched the approach. Earth had been classified as a Class 4 death world, yet reports suggested its dominant species was remarkably peaceful for creatures evolved in such harsh conditions. Preparing first contact protocols, announced Navigation Officer Plume, his small, furry body barely visible above the control panel. Sheathal nodded, her mandibles clicking softly. Remember, everyone. These humans have shown no aggression despite our probes. The Council believes they evolved as cooperative gatherers rather than hunters. Science Officer Zexer floated in his methane chamber nearby. His translucent, jellyfish-like body pulsed with bioluminescent patterns. Their biology is puzzling. They lack natural weapons, possess relatively weak muscles for their size, and have no protective exoskeletons. Yet they dominated their planet. Perhaps their intelligence compensated for physical limitations, Sheathal suggested. The communication console chimed, indicating Earth authorities had detected their presence and were broadcasting a greeting. After years of studying Earth transmissions, the Federation's translation algorithms worked perfectly. This is the United Earth Council welcoming the unidentified vessel. We come in peace and offer friendship. Sheathal smiled in the way her species expressed pleasure by relaxing her facial muscles. Most spacefaring species in the galaxy had evolved from prey animals. Predatory species rarely develop the cooperation necessary for advanced civilization. Humans, despite their world's dangers, seemed to fit the peaceful pattern the Federation preferred. 3 days later, Sheathal led the first official meeting, with human representatives at a neutral facility built hastily in international waters. The location, a platform above the Pacific Ocean, had been chosen to minimize potential biological contamination. Dr. Alan Miller entered the meeting chamber first. He was a middle-aged man with kind eyes and a patient smile. Behind him came Lieutenant Olivia Grant, her posture straight and alert. The small device at her hip made Sheathal nervous, though Earth authorities had assured them it was merely ceremonial. "Welcome to Earth," Dr. Miller said, bowing slightly. "I'm the Marine Biology Advisor to the United Earth Council." Sheathal performed the Federation greeting gesture. "We are honored to meet your species face to face. The Federation has observed your planet for some time. We find your civilization fascinating." Plume stepped forward, his whiskers twitching with excitement. "Your world contains such diversity. Our preliminary scans detected millions of unique species." "Yes," Dr. Miller smiled. "Earth's ecosystems are incredibly complex. My specialty is marine life, organisms that live in our oceans." "Your oceans cover most of your planet," Zexer noted, his tentacles swaying inside his containment suit. "They must be rich with life." "They are," Lieutenant Grant said, "though much of it remains unexplored." The initial meeting continued with exchanges of basic information. The aliens explained that the Galactic Federation included 37 spacefaring species, most from worlds much more hospitable than Earth. The Federation classified planets, on a scale from Class 1 paradise worlds to Class 5, deadly to most life forms. "Earth is quite unusual," Sheathal explained. "A Class 4 death world that produced a seemingly non-aggressive dominant species." Dr. Miller looked surprised. "Non-aggressive? That's not exactly... Your physical form lacks natural weapons," Plume interrupted excitedly. "No claws, minimal teeth, soft skin. Federation xenobiologists believe you evolved primarily as gatherers who used cooperation rather than predation to survive." Lieutenant Grant coughed quietly. Dr. Miller glanced at her before responding. "Our evolutionary history is somewhat more complex," he said carefully. "But yes, cooperation has been essential to our success." The meeting concluded with arrangements for future cultural and scientific exchanges. As the human representatives prepared to leave, Plume approached Dr. Miller. "You mentioned specializing in marine life," the small alien said. "What creatures do you study most?" "Predatory species, actually," Dr. Miller replied. "Particularly sharks." "Sharks?" Plume's translator struggled with the word. Large predatory fish. Some have existed almost unchanged for hundreds of millions of years. Plume's fur rippled with interest. Are they dangerous? Some species can be. The great white shark, for instance, is one of the ocean's top predators. Fascinating. Perhaps you could tell us more about these creatures in a future exchange. Dr. Miller nodded. I'd be happy to prepare a presentation. Over the following weeks, the Federation diplomatic team established a permanent embassy in Geneva. Cultural exchanges flourished as humans learned about alien civilizations and shared Earth's history. The Federation representatives seemed particularly interested in Earth's ecosystems, asking detailed questions about the relationships between species. During a tour of the International Oceanic Research Center where Dr. Miller worked, Sheathal noticed a large display showing the migration patterns of various marine species. These movements are tracked in real time? She asked. Yes, Dr. Miller explained. We tag many marine animals to study their behavior and protect them. Protect them? Zexer's translation device beeped questioningly. From what? From extinction. Many species are threatened by climate change, pollution, and overfishing. The aliens exchanged glances. Sheathal's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of confusion. You act to preserve other species on your planet? Plume asked. Even those with no direct benefit to humans? Of course, Lieutenant Grant said. Biodiversity is essential for healthy ecosystems. The aliens seemed both puzzled and impressed. Before they could discuss further, Dr. Miller received an urgent message. He excused himself, returning moments later with excitement visible on his face. Perfect timing, he said. The research vessel just reported a great white shark feeding near our offshore monitoring station. We have live footage coming in. Would you like to see? The aliens agreed enthusiastically, following Dr. Miller to the center's main viewing room. The large screen showed crystal-clear underwater footage of a massive shark circling beneath a group of seals. What you're about to witness is natural predatory behavior, Dr. Miller explained. The great white can detect tiny amounts of blood in water from great distances. They're perfectly evolved hunting machines. The aliens watched in silence as the scene unfolded. The shark suddenly accelerated upward with incredible speed, its massive jaws opening to reveal rows of serrated teeth. It caught a seal in a single powerful bite, the water briefly clouding with red. A strange sound filled the room, a high-pitched whine from Zexer, a frightened squeak from Plume. Sheathal stood frozen, all four eyes wide open. And humans. Sheathal's voice sounded strained through the translator. Humans share the planet with these creatures? We do, Dr. Miller said, noticing their reaction with surprise. Great whites are found in coastal waters worldwide. Some people even dive with them in protective cages. You willingly approach these predators? Plume had backed against the wall, his fur standing on end. Lieutenant Grant stepped forward. Doctor, Miller here has spent his career studying them. He's even swam with them in open water. The alien stared at the human marine biologist with new eyes. In that moment, their understanding of humanity began to shift dramatically. The supposedly harmless species from Earth suddenly seemed much more complex and much more dangerous than they had initially believed. The atmosphere aboard the Harmony Seeker was tense the next morning. Commander Sheathal had called an emergency meeting with her senior staff. The footage of the shark hunting had disturbed them deeply. We need to reassess our understanding of humans, Sheathal said, pacing the circular chamber. Her outer skin had taken on a pale yellow hue, indicating stress. Plume sat hunched in his seat, still visibly shaken. They live alongside such monsters without fear. What does that tell us about them? Science Officer Zexer's tentacles twisted nervously inside his containment suit. The human, Dr. Miller, studies these predators. He even enters the water with them willingly. Sheathal stopped pacing. The Federation Council must be informed. Our classification of humans may be seriously flawed. A soft chime interrupted their discussion. The communication officer announced that the humans had arrived for their scheduled tour of the ship. Sheathal straightened her posture and tried to compose herself. Remember diplomatic protocols, she reminded her crew. We must not. Show undue alarm. Dr. Miller and Lieutenant Grant waited in the ship's reception chamber. They were accompanied by a new human, Dr. Maria Ellis, an anthropologist specializing in cultural exchange. Welcome aboard, Sheathal greeted them, her translator converting her clicks and whistles into English. We are honored to share our vessel with you, Dr. Miller smiled. Thank you for having us. We've been looking forward to this opportunity. As the tour began, Sheathal noticed how the other aliens kept a greater distance from the humans than protocol required. Lieutenant Grant seemed to notice too, her eyes narrowing slightly when Plume flinched away from her. Is everything all right? Lieutenant Grant asked directly. Your crew seems uncomfortable today. Sheathal's mandibles clicked rapidly. We are processing new information about your species. The footage of your ocean predator was unexpected. Dr. Ellis stepped forward. The shark? Were you disturbed by the hunting behavior? Yes, Sheathal admitted. Such creatures do not exist on our worlds. Most Federation species evolved on planets where large predators were rare or non-existent. Dr. Miller nodded with understanding. Earth's evolutionary history created many powerful predators. Sharks are just one example. The tour continued through the ship's science labs, where alien researchers studied samples of Earth materials. In one lab, a holographic display showed Earth's complete ecosystem web, with lines connecting predators and prey across thousands of species. Zexer floated closer to the display. Your planet has the most complex predator-prey relationships we have ever documented, and humans sit at the top of this web. We're omnivores, Dr. Ellis explained. Our ancestors were both gatherers and hunters. But you lack natural weapons, Plume said, his voice squeaking slightly. How did you hunt without claws or venom? Lieutenant Grant exchanged glances with Dr. Miller. We made tools, and we used our minds. The tour moved to the ship's observation deck, where Earth filled the vast window. The blue planet looked peaceful from orbit. Your oceans cover most of your world, Sheathal said. And these sharks live throughout them? Different species inhabit different regions, Dr. Miller explained. There are over 500 species of sharks, from small bottom dwellers to the great white you saw yesterday. 500? Plume's fur stood on end. And humans have not tried to eliminate these dangerous creatures? Dr. Miller frowned. On the contrary, many shark species are endangered. We're working to protect them. The aliens fell silent. Finally, Sheathal spoke. You protect predators that could kill you? Ecosystems need predators, Dr. Ellis said simply. Without them, the whole system collapses. After the tour concluded, Sheathal invited the humans to a formal dinner the following evening. As the humans departed, the alien crew gathered again in the command center. Did you notice how the military human, Lieutenant Grant, watches everything? Plume said nervously. Her eyes miss nothing. And Dr. Miller speaks about deadly predators with admiration, Zexer added. He called the shark beautiful when describing its hunting efficiency. Sheathal tapped her claws against the console. We need to learn more. I request permission to view their historical records without restrictions. The next evening, the formal dinner began with careful ceremony. The humans brought gifts, digital libraries containing Earth music, art, and literature. Sheathal presented them with a crystalline orb that projected images of the Federation's homeworlds. During the meal, served in separate environments suitable for each species' biology, Sheathal directed the conversation toward human history. Our researchers have been studying your historical databases, she said carefully. We found your species has engaged in many conflicts among yourselves. Dr. Ellis nodded. Unfortunately, yes. War has been a constant in human history, though we've made progress toward lasting peace. These wars, Zexer said, they involved strategic thinking similar to predatory hunting behaviors. Lieutenant Grant placed her utensil down slowly. That's an interesting observation. Military strategy does sometimes mirror natural predator tactics. Pack hunting, Plume said quietly. Like your wolves. Dr. Miller looked surprised. You've been studying Earth's wolf packs? We've been studying all Earth predators, Sheathal admitted. Your world has an unusual number of pack hunters that coordinate their attacks. Wolves, lions, orcas, and many others. And humans, Lieutenant Grant added, her eyes steady. We were pack hunters too. The room grew quiet. Sheathal's outer skin rippled with color changes before she regained control. We believe we misunderstood your species, she said finally. We classified humans as cooperative gatherers because of your physical forms. But your minds evolved in constant awareness of predators, and as predators yourselves. Dr. Ellis nodded slowly. That's a fair assessment. Human intelligence likely developed partly as a response to the dangers of our environment, including predators, and partly as a way to become better predators ourselves. Yet you protect the very creatures that hunted your ancestors, Zexer said, his tentacles swaying with confusion. We recognize their importance, Dr. Miller explained, and perhaps we see something of ourselves in them. After dinner, Sheathal invited Dr. Miller to give his planned presentation about sharks to the full diplomatic team the next day. As the humans left the ship, the alien leaders gathered once more. I accessed their military history, one of the research officers reported. Humans have created weapons capable of destroying their entire planet, yet they didn't use them to wipe themselves out, Sheathal noted. They've also created vast protected areas for wild predators, another researcher added. They call them nature preserves and marine sanctuaries. Plume wrapped his arms around himself. Who preserves predators? This goes against all evolutionary logic. Sheathal stared out at Earth through the viewport. We need to understand this contradiction. A species from a death world, surrounded by killers, who became killers themselves, yet developed empathy strong enough to protect the very creatures that threaten them. The Federation has never encountered anything like them, Zexer said. Sheathal's mandibles clicked decisively. And that makes humans the most dangerous species we have ever met, or potentially the most valuable allies. Down on Earth, Lieutenant Grant sat with Dr. Miller and Dr. Ellis in the research center, reviewing the day's events. They're afraid of us now, Lieutenant Grant said bluntly. Did you see how they reacted when we mentioned human warfare? Dr. Miller nodded. They see us differently, not as the peaceful gatherers they assumed, but as predators who developed unusual traits. Empathy, cooperation, protection of other species, Dr. Ellis counted on her fingers. Things that apparently don't align with predatory evolution on other worlds. Tomorrow's presentation will be crucial, Dr. Miller said, looking at his notes for the shark lecture. I need to help them understand not just what sharks are, but what humanity's relationship with predators says about us. Lieutenant Grant smiled slightly. Just be honest. Show them what we really are. A species that can understand and value the beauty of a perfect predator, even when that predator could kill us. Dr. Miller arrived at the Harmony Seeker the next morning with a sealed container. Lieutenant Grant accompanied him, along with Dr. Ellis and a new team member, Steve Rogers, a shark conservation specialist. The aliens had prepared their largest meeting room for the presentation. Commander Sheathal greeted them at the docking bay. Many Federation scientists have requested to attend your lecture. Word has spread about Earth's unusual predators. Dr. Miller nodded. I'm happy to share our knowledge. I brought something that might help. He gestured to the container. The meeting room was packed with aliens of various species. Some floated in special atmosphere chambers, others perched on elevated platforms. All eyes, sensory stalks, and other perception organs focused on the humans as they entered. Thank you for this opportunity, Dr. Miller began, standing before a large display screen. Today I'll explain what sharks are, their role in Earth's ecosystems and humanity's complex relationship with them. The screen showed a timeline of Earth's evolutionary history. Sharks first appeared over 450 million years ago. They existed before dinosaurs, before trees, and have survived 5 mass extinction events. Images of different shark species filled the screen. The massive whale shark, the oddly shaped hammerhead, the deep-sea goblin shark with its extendable jaw. There are over 500 known species of sharks, ranging from the size of your hand to larger than this room, Dr. Miller explained. Most pose no threat to humans. Only about a dozen species have ever attacked people. Plume raised a trembling paw. But the one you showed us yesterday, the great white, it hunts mammals like humans. Yes, Dr. Miller acknowledged. Great whites are apex predators. They primarily hunt seals and sea lions, but occasionally mistake humans for their natural prey. He showed footage of a shark attack on a surfboard, causing several aliens to emit distress sounds. Despite what you're seeing, shark attacks on humans are extremely rare. More humans die from bee stings each year than from sharks. Yet you fear them, Sheathal observed. Fear is a natural response to a predator, Dr. Ellis added. But fear and respect are different things. Dr. Miller nodded and continued. Sharks are perfectly evolved hunters. Some can detect electrical fields produced by their prey's heartbeat. Others can find a drop of blood in an Olympic-sized swimming pool. Their teeth are constantly replaced throughout their lives. The screen displayed close-up images of various shark jaws and teeth. The aliens shifted uncomfortably. Now, I'd like to show you something special, Dr. Miller said, opening the container he'd brought. He carefully lifted out a large shark tooth, almost the size of his hand. This is a fossilized tooth from a megalodon, an extinct shark species that grew to about 60 feet long. He passed the tooth to Sheathal, who held it with visible unease. This creature was real? Not a myth? Very real, Steve Rogers confirmed. Megalodons were the largest predatory fish ever to exist. They went extinct about 3.6 million years ago. And now, Dr. Miller continued, I'd like to explain humanity's relationship with sharks. The screen showed ancient cave paintings and tribal artifacts depicting sharks. Humans have known sharks for our entire existence. Many cultures worshipped them as gods or powerful spirits. Others hunted them for food and materials. Lieutenant Grant stepped forward. My ancestors believed sharks embodied strength and protection. Shark-tooth weapons were given to warriors. But in more recent times, Dr. Miller continued, showing modern images, humans began hunting sharks at an industrial scale. We killed millions every year, pushing many species toward extinction. The aliens looked confused. Zexer's tentacles twisted in agitation. You feared them, so you tried to eliminate them. This we understand. No, Steve Rogers corrected. We hunted them primarily for their fins, used in expensive soup, or for sport, or because we feared them irrationally due to movies and stories. Dr. Miller clicked to the next slide, showing conservation efforts, shark sanctuaries, tagging programs, and scientists swimming with various shark species. But now we're trying to save them. We recognize that sharks are essential to ocean health. Without them, marine ecosystems collapse. A scientist raised one of her 4 appendages. You protect creatures that could devour you. This contradicts all evolutionary logic. Dr. Ellis smiled. Humans have evolved beyond simple survival instincts. We understand that our long-term survival depends on balanced ecosystems, which require predators. Lieutenant Grant added, we also admire them, their power, their perfection. They're beautifully adapted to their role. The statement caused a ripple of movement through the alien audience. Sheathal's mandibles clicked rapidly. You admire these killers? Yes, Dr. Miller said simply. And that's what I really wanted to explain today. Humans have a unique perspective on predators. He showed footage of himself in a dive cage, observing a great white shark up close. We see beauty in their design, their efficiency. We study them to understand our world better. Steve Rogers took over. I've dedicated my life to protecting sharks, not because they're safe or friendly, but because they're necessary and remarkable. Dr. Miller concluded, sharks remind us of nature's power and of our responsibility to protect all life, not just what benefits us directly or what we find comfortable. The room fell silent. Finally, Sheathal stood. Thank you for this illuminating presentation. The Federation Council will need to discuss its implications. Please wait outside. The humans were escorted to a waiting area. Through the door, they could hear the rising sound of alien voices in heated discussion. "They're reassessing us," Lieutenant Grant said quietly. Dr. Miller nodded. "Our relationship with sharks reveals something about humanity they didn't expect." After 30 minutes, they were called back in. The room had been rearranged, with Shethal and representatives from 7 different species seated in a formal configuration. "Dr. Miller," Shethal began, "your presentation has forced us to completely reevaluate our understanding of humans." Zexer's translator conveyed his agitated speech. "Your species evolved on a world filled with predators that would be classified as monsters on our planets. You not only survived, but thrived. You became predators yourselves," Plume added, his fur still bristling. "Yet you developed empathy and cooperation beyond any predatory species we've encountered." Shethal leaned forward. "Most notably, you formed an understanding of ecological balance that required protecting creatures that can kill you. This indicates a level of abstract thinking regarding long-term survival that is unprecedented. The Federation has never encountered a species like humans," a crystalline being stated from its hovering platform. "You are predators who protect predators. You understand the necessity of the hunt while restricting your own hunting." Dr. Ellis nodded slowly. "We've made many mistakes along the way. We've driven countless species to extinction, but we're learning." "The Federation Council has made a decision," Shethal announced formally. "Earth's classification is changed from emerging cooperative species to predatory guardian species, a new category created specifically for humans." Lieutenant Grant raised an eyebrow. "What does that mean for Earth-Federation relations?" "It means," Shethal said, her voice solemn through the translator, "that the Federation sees humanity not as the peaceful gatherers we assumed, but as something far more complex and potentially valuable, predators who understand the importance of balance." As the humans left the ship that evening, Dr. Miller looked back at the gleaming vessel hovering above Earth. "They see us differently now," he said quietly. Lieutenant Grant nodded. "All because of sharks." "No," Dr. Ellis corrected. "Because of what sharks reveal about us. We're creatures who can look at the perfect predator and see something worth saving." News of Earth's reclassification spread quickly through the Galactic Federation. Within days, ships from other member species began arriving in Earth orbit. The United Earth Council scrambled to prepare for this unexpected increase in alien visitors. Dr. Miller stood beside Lieutenant Grant on the roof of the International Oceanic Research Center, watching a sleek black vessel descend toward the landing pad. This ship looked nothing like the pearlescent Harmony Seeker. Its surface was textured like rough hide, and its shape reminded Miller of a manta ray. "The Krell delegation," Lieutenant Grant said, checking her tablet. "First predatory species. We've met from the Federation." Commander Shethal approached them, her 4 eyes blinking nervously. "The Krell requested to meet with you specifically, Dr. Miller. They were fascinated by your shark presentation." "What can you tell us about them?" Dr. Ellis asked, joining the group. "The Krell evolved from pack hunters on a Class 3 Deathworld," Shethal explained. "They're one of only 3 predatory species to achieve space travel. Most predators destroy themselves before reaching the stars." The ship landed silently. A ramp extended from its side, releasing a cloud of greenish mist. 3 tall figures emerged. They walked on 2 powerful legs, with shorter arms ending in clawed hands. Their heads were elongated, with forward-facing eyes and jaws that seemed capable of unhinging like a snake's. The lead Krell approached. Despite the translation technology, its voice came out as a low growl. "I am Ambassador Krav of the Krell Dominion. We come seeking knowledge of Earth's apex predators." Dr. Miller stepped forward. "Welcome to Earth. I'm Dr. Alan Miller. I'd be happy to share our research." Krav's vertical pupils narrowed as he studied Miller. "You are the shark expert, the one who swims with killers." "That's part of my work, yes." The Krell made a sound that might have been laughter. "The herbivores of the Federation fear you now. They sent us to assess the threat." Lieutenant Grant tensed slightly. Earth poses no threat to the Federation. We seek peaceful relations with all species. Peace through strength, another Krell said, its scales shifting color slightly. A concept we understand. Sheathal's mandibles clicked anxiously. Perhaps we should continue this discussion inside. In the center's conference room, displays showed live feeds from underwater cameras positioned around the world's oceans. A great hammerhead shark swam lazily past one of the cameras, causing the Krell to lean forward with interest. Remarkable hunting adaptation, Krav said, pointing to the shark's hammer-shaped head. Sensory organs spread wide for detecting prey. Dr. Miller nodded. The hammerhead can sense electrical fields produced by animals hiding under sand, like our heat-sensing organs, the second Krell said, touching the ridges above its eyes. The meeting continued as Dr. Miller shared more information about Earth's predators, not just sharks, but lions, wolves, eagles, and crocodiles. Though, Krell showed particular interest in pack hunters. You said wolves hunt in coordinated groups, Krav noted, like humans once did. Yes, Dr. Ellis confirmed. Many anthropologists believe human intelligence developed partly through the demands of cooperative hunting. Yet you abandoned this when you could have dominated completely, the third Krell observed. You protect the very creatures that compete with you. Why? Steve Rogers joined the conversation. Because we recognize that wiping out predators causes entire ecosystems to collapse. When wolves disappeared from Yellowstone, everything changed, from plant life to river paths. Fascinating, Krav said. On our world, the strongest rule. It is simple, effective. It's also limited, Dr. Miller suggested carefully. Earth's greatest strength is its biodiversity, millions of species in balance. Lieutenant Grant, who had been quietly observing, spoke up. Would your delegation be interested in a more direct experience with Earth's predators? We could arrange an ocean expedition. The Krell's scales rippled with what appeared to be excitement. You would take us to see these sharks in their territory? Dr. Miller looked surprised but quickly recovered. We could observe from a research vessel and use our submersibles for closer views. No, Krav said firmly. If humans can enter the water with these creatures, so can Krell warriors. Later that afternoon, Sheathal cornered Lieutenant Grant in the hallway. What are you doing? Taking predatory aliens to meet Earth's most dangerous hunters could confirm the Federation's worst fears about both species. Lieutenant Grant smiled slightly. Or it could build the strongest possible alliance. Did you notice how the Krell responded to Dr. Miller? There was respect there. Respect between predators, Sheathal said uneasily. That's what concerns us. 2 days later, the research vessel Ocean Explorer cut through waves 50 miles offshore. Dr. Miller checked the sonar readings while Lieutenant Grant helped the Krell delegation with their diving equipment. The aliens had insisted on using human gear rather than their own technology. These waters contain numerous shark species, Dr. Miller explained. Great whites, bulls, tigers, hammerheads. We've been tracking a female great white named Luna in this area. Krav inspected the diving cage with obvious disdain. Your people use these for protection? Most do, Dr. Miller admitted. Direct encounters with great whites can be dangerous. Yet you have done this without such barriers? On rare occasions, with extreme caution, and never alone. The Krell made that rumbling sound again. Definitely laughter. We will not hide in cages. Dr. Ellis looked concerned. Ambassador, even experienced researchers use protection when the Krell do not fear predators, Krav interrupted. We respect them as equals. Steve Rogers monitored the tracking data on his tablet. Luna is approaching from the east. Large female, nearly 20 feet long. Dr. Miller made a quick decision. We'll use the cage first. If conditions are safe, we can consider a free dive. The Krell reluctantly agreed. Soon, Dr. Miller and Krav were in the cage descending into the blue depths. The other two Krell followed in a second cage with Steve Rogers. 30 feet down, visibility extended about 100 feet in every direction. Dr. Miller pointed to his right. A dark shape appeared in the distance, moving with effortless grace. Luna approached slowly. The great white was enormous, her scarred skin telling the story of many battles. She circled the cages curiously, her black eye seeming to evaluate the strange creatures inside. Dr. Miller watched Krav's reaction. The alien predator remained perfectly still, tracking Luna's movements with an intensity that reminded Miller of the shark herself. Luna passed close to their cage, close enough that they could see the rows of serrated teeth visible at the edge of her mouth. Then she turned and disappeared into the blue. When they surfaced, the Krell were unusually quiet. Back on the ship, Krav finally spoke. "We have seen many worlds, many creatures, but never a hunter so perfectly evolved. 400 million years of refinement," Dr. Miller said. "They hardly needed to change because they were already nearly perfect." "And humans," Krav said, "humans evolved on a world where such creatures ruled the seas." "We did. Now I understand why the Federation fears you," Krav said, "and why they should respect you instead." 1 month after the Krell's visit, Earth buzzed with alien activity. Federation scientists established research stations across the planet, studying everything from polar bears to ants. The United Earth Council created a new department focused solely on interspecies relations, with Dr. Ellis appointed as its director. Dr. Miller walked along the beach near the research center, watching the sunrise paint the ocean gold. Lieutenant Grant joined him, coffee mug in hand. "Big day," she said. "The Federation Council arrives in 3 hours." Dr. Miller nodded. "Hard to believe how much has changed because of sharks." "Not just sharks," Lieutenant Grant corrected. "Because of how we see sharks. That's what fascinates them." Behind them, the research center had been transformed for the official ceremony. Earth would today be offered membership in the Galactic Federation, with a special status never granted to any planet before. Commander Sheathall met them at the entrance, her normally blue skin now a ceremonial purple. "Dr. Miller, Lieutenant Grant, the preparations are complete. The Krell delegation has already arrived." Inside, representatives from 27 Federation worlds mingled in the Great Hall. The Krell stood apart, intimidating in their formal armor. Ambassador Krav nodded respectfully when he saw Dr. Miller. "The Shark Hunter," he said. "My report to the Krell Dominion about Earth's predators has caused quite a stir. Our scientists are eager to visit your oceans." "They would be welcome," Dr. Miller replied. "Though we prefer the term shark researcher to shark hunter." Krav made his rumbling laugh. "This distinction is precisely why humans are unique." A hush fell over the room as the Federation High Council entered. 5 beings of different species moved to the raised platform at the front of the hall. The central figure, a tall being with iridescent skin that shifted between shades of blue, stepped forward. "I am High Counselor Zeth," the translator conveyed. "We come to formally recognize Earth's place in the galactic community." The ceremony began with Earth representatives presenting information about human culture, science, and history. Dr. Ellis spoke about humanity's journey from hunter-gatherers to a global civilization. Steve Rogers presented data on Earth's conservation efforts. When Dr. Miller's turn came, he stood before the assembled aliens and activated the large display behind him. The screen showed a massive shark migration, hundreds of sharks swimming together off the coast of Australia. "Earth's oceans contain mysteries we are still discovering," he explained. "These great white sharks travel thousands of miles each year, using paths they've followed for millions of years before humans existed." The image changed to show a diver swimming alongside a large tiger shark. This relationship between predator and prey, hunter and hunted, has shaped humanity's understanding of our place in nature. Lieutenant Grant joined him. "Humans evolved as predators, but we developed something rare: the ability to see beyond immediate survival to long-term balance." When they finished, High Counselor Zeth stepped forward again. "The Federation has existed for 12,000 years. In that time, we have encountered over 300 intelligent species. None have challenged our understanding of evolution, like humans." The High Counselor's skin rippled with patterns of light. Most spacefaring species evolved as prey animals who developed cooperation as a survival strategy. The few predatory species who reached the stars, like the Krell, maintained strict dominance hierarchies. Zeth gestured toward the Earth delegation. Humans represent something we believed impossible. Predators with the cooperative instincts of prey species, the abstract thinking to understand ecological balance, and most remarkably, the empathy to protect other predators. Ambassador Krav stepped forward without invitation. The Krell Dominion wishes to speak. There was a murmur of surprise, but Zeth nodded permission. We have observed humans in their natural environment, Krav said. They are indeed predators, cunning, adaptable, and lethal when necessary. But they have transcended the limitations that keep most predatory species from advancing. Krav turned to face the Earth delegation. On our world, the weak perish. This is natural law. Yet humans protect endangered species, even apex predators that compete with them. They recognize strength in diversity rather than conformity. Hi, Counselor Zeth resumed speaking. The Federation hereby extends membership to Earth with a unique classification, Guardian Predator. A crystalline object was presented to Dr. Ellis, the formal symbol of Federation membership. This classification grants Earth special privileges and responsibilities, Zeth continued. Your perspective on ecological balance will help guide Federation conservation efforts across the galaxy. Your understanding of predator-prey relationships will inform our diplomatic approaches to newly discovered worlds. The ceremony concluded with formal agreements for scientific exchange, trade, and mutual defense. As the official portions ended, the gathering broke into smaller conversations. Dr. Miller found himself speaking with a scientist from a world of floating gas giants. I still don't fully understand, the alien said, her translator giving her voice a musical quality. Why do humans care so deeply about creatures that could kill them? Dr. Miller considered the question. Perhaps because we recognize that true strength isn't about domination, but about maintaining balance. Sharks have survived virtually unchanged for hundreds of millions of years because they fit perfectly into their ecological niche. And humans? We're still figuring out our place. For too long, we acted as though we stood outside nature rather than within it. We're learning to be better guardians. Later that evening, as most of the aliens returned to their ships, a small group gathered on the research center's observation deck. Dr. Miller, Lieutenant Grant, Dr. Ellis, and Steve Rogers were joined by Zethal, Krav, and High Counselor Zeth. Below them, spotlights illuminated the water where several sharks circled a feeding station the researchers had established. The predators moved with ancient grace, their forms perfect in their deadly simplicity. In the 12,000 years of Federation history, Zeth said quietly, we have cataloged millions of species across thousands of worlds, yet I have never seen creatures quite like your sharks, or quite like humans, Zethal added. Dr. Miller smiled. We're not so different from sharks in some ways. Both of us are adaptable, persistent, and sometimes feared without reason. The difference, Krav observed, is that sharks remain what they have always been. Humans became something more. Lieutenant Grant watched the sharks below. We're still predators at heart. We still compete, hunt, and fight. But we've learned to channel those instincts, to look beyond the immediate kill to the health of the entire system. High Counselor Zeth's skin glowed with patterns that suggested deep thought. This is why Earth's classification is so important. The galaxy needs guardian predators, species that understand both the necessity of the hunt and the value of restraint. As night fell completely, the group watched Luna, the great white shark Dr. Miller had tracked for years, glide beneath the platform. Her massive form seemed to glow in the moonlight reflecting off the water. She's beautiful, Zethal said, surprising everyone. I no longer see only a monster, I see a perfect creation, fulfilling exactly the role she was meant to play. Dr. Miller nodded. That's the lesson humanity had to learn too. There are no monsters in nature, only creatures following their evolutionary path. Luna circled once, more before disappearing into the dark depths. The representatives of three very different evolutionary paths, prey, predator, and guardian, stood together, watching the ocean that had birthed Earth's most perfect hunters. In that moment, the gap between worlds seemed to narrow. Different as they were, they had found common ground in understanding the delicate balance that allowed life to flourish. A balance that required both tooth and claw, both protection and predation. Earth had found its place in the galaxy not despite its dangerous predators, but because of what those predators had taught humanity. That strength without wisdom destroys itself, and that true power lies in protecting the very forces that once threatened you.